Okay, can you start? Am I audible? Hello. Okay. So in the last class we are discussing about the hypothesis testing, and purpose already we know that why we do the hypothesis testing. With an example, we try to understand how to conduct the hypothesis testing. But to continue with that discussion, as we know that generally we apply the normal distribution if the sample size is more than 30, or we go for the t distribution if sample size is less than that one for the hypothesis testing. Taking the example of the normal distribution, are you able to see this screen?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. So here this is the a normal distribution, and the concept is that for the hypothesis testing that it's sample mean. Sample mean is coming around or falling around the population mean, right? Here in the mid we are representing the mean value. That means more likely that claim has to be accepted, right? And in this side we have the very low probability values, extreme side. Okay, here getting the sample mean have very low probability. So in that case, if sample mean is falling in this region, let's say if you define this as a critical value, this line or this line as a critical value, if sample mean falling in this area or this area, that depends upon your hypothesis definition, how you're going to define your hypothesis. So that should be known as the rejection. We are going to reject the null hypothesis. I already know that there should be two hypotheses with each claim, each statement. We are going to make the two hypotheses. One is the null hypothesis, another is the alternative hypothesis. And generally we do have the two type of the option or the outcomes, right? Possible outcomes. Either null hypothesis to be rejected or fail to reject, right? Here we are not talking in terms of the hypothesis is true or that is false or like that. Based upon the data, sample data, whether we are able to accept or reject, that kind of decisions we are going to make. With certainty, you can't say any time that, okay, this is true, 100% true or 100% false or like that one, okay? So based upon the sample data, you are making some prediction. And it's not necessary that always you are going to make the good predictions, but if you are going to follow the scientific method, most of the time, your predictions, your decisions should be good. In last class, we are discussing about how to decide about this critical value, right? How to decide about the critical value, this value, where should we put this value, that if the sample mean is falling in this side, that should be null hypothesis should be rejected, or if falling inside this value, this white space, that should be fail to reject, or you can say in other words accepted. Okay, so there should be the alpha level, the critical region, and the test statistics. For the each type of distribution, we have the different type of the test statistics. There is some formula. On the basis of that, we calculate that. So we are going to follow the 4-step process. How to perform the hypothesis testing. So first step is the state the hypothesis and select an alpha value. What is the alpha value? Can anyone tell me? In the last class, we have defined the alpha value. What do you mean by the alpha value? There are two things. One is the level of confidence that we defined as the C value. If you say that 95% confidence, level of confidence, that means out of the 100 times, 95 times, your claim should be true. Or that is true, right? Alpha value is just the reciprocal of that one. You know that alpha plus C equal to 1. So when you're going to represent the C value in the fraction, so if you're going to represent the 95%, that means alpha value should be 0.05, right? That is the significance level or the cutoff for making a decision about the null hypothesis. The alpha level also determines the risk of type 1 error. What is the type 1 error? In the last class, we have discussed type 1 error. Here you can see. Type 1 errors occurs when the sample data appears to show a treatment effect, when in fact there is none. That means we are rejecting the null hypothesis, but that should be accepted. That error you are going to make. In this case, the researcher rejects the null hypothesis and falsely concludes that treatment has an effect. Okay. Actually, there is no change, but if this kind of error happens, right, null hypothesis rejected, and we accept the alternative hypothesis. Why that is caused? That is caused by unusual, unrepresentative samples. They are the not representative population. Yeah. So if there is some problem in the sampling method, or sampling techniques, or properly you are not going to select the samples, there may be chances of the type 1 error. So how to design your hypothesis testing so that type 1 error should not be happen, or very less chance of type 1 error should be. That depends on our design, right? And generally the probability of a type 1 error is equal to alpha level. Probability of happening of type 1 error is depending upon the alpha level. If you remember, in the last class we are talking about two type of we have taken the two examples about the making the judgment. One is the simple kind of mistake in the driving, and one is the some murder charges on a case. If you're going to make a statement that, okay, this person has done some sort of the offense during the driving, and if you're going to make this is the null hypothesis, okay? And for that, he should be punished. Punishment may be some sort of the monetary punishment, let's say some fine. Okay. Second case is that there is a charge of the cold-blooded murder on someone. If that is the claim that someone has murdered someone, and if there should be type 1 error in that case, that means in actual he has not murdered anyone, but due to the type 1 error, it is established that he has murdered. So that depends upon the implication, right? How much he has to lose if type 1 error happens. On that basis, we are going to select the alpha level. How much certainty we want. Generally, in that kind of cases, that is very serious in nature, and like that, we try to minimize the type 1 error at all. And we can go for the confidence level up to the 99.9% or like that one. So that alpha level should be very low. Type 1 error should be, probability of happening type 1 error should be very low. And this has to be selected or chosen, this value, alpha value, chosen by the researcher, chosen by you, if you are going to use any kind of the hypothesis testing. And that should be based upon the seriousness of the happening of the type 1 error. I think you got that point. Okay. So we are discussing the step 1. So this alpha level also telling the risk of type 1 error, right? Here you can see this is the normal chart. If there is a both tail, both side you are going to have the rejection region. Like, let's say I'm going to have a hypothesis like, H O mean value of something equal to, let's say 25. Okay. Then what should be the alternate hypothesis? As you know, the alternate hypothesis should consist of all the possible outcomes that is not covered by null hypothesis. So here mu should not be equal to 25 will become our alternate hypothesis. In that case, let's say if you're going to draw the, we are going to fix the mean value here, mu equal to 25. In this case, we have to fix the alpha value for the both side, this region and this region, low probability region. If the sample mean is falling in this region also or this region also, that should be rejected. That means null hypothesis should be rejected. So this is known as the both tail testing or two tail testing, right? Both end we are considering in that one, right? Are you able to see the whiteboard? This whiteboard, I am drawing this figure. Are you able to see this?
Yes, we have seen it.
Okay. So this is the two tail test in which two tail test in which we have the rejection region in the both the end of the normal distribution or normal graph. Okay. Sometimes this happens that, let's say, average speed of the car on the road is not less than 25. So in that case, that speed should be not less than 25 can be written as the null hypothesis as a HO, and mu average speed should be greater than or equal to, okay, greater than and equal to 25. And alternate hypothesis should become mu should be less than less than 25. Now in this case, all the region where speed is 25 or more than 25 is the acceptance region. Okay. So in that case, if the value is falling below a particular critical value, we are going to reject. So this should be one tail. Only one side we are going to consider. This should be rejection region only. If average speed is falling in any side, right side of this one, your null hypothesis should be accepted. Got it? So this is the difference between the one tail test. In one tail, we have the two types. One is the left side, one is the right side. If you are going to put this one, right? 4 people are waiting in the admit. Okay. So that was the difference between the two tail test and the one tail test. Now coming to the slides. Here for the different alpha value, different C value, critical value is defined. And here this value is given in terms of the Z. Z is the test characteristics of normal distribution, right? You can easily find out the Z value any time. How to get the Z value? Let's say I will show you the Z value formula online. Let's see where is the Z value. Yeah. If you can see this screen, Z value for the normal distribution can be calculated as the x minus mu divided by sigma. Here x is the mean of samples, sample level. Mu is the population average, and this is the standard deviation of the sample. Sigma is the standard deviation of sample. If you have the sample data, you can easily calculate the mean value, that is the x. Mu population is the whatever you are going to say in the hypothesis. Let's say mu equal to 25 or like that one. And a standard deviation you can easily calculate. So you will get the Z value, right? If you get the Z value, based upon this, we can find out at which level we are, what is the significance level, alpha value. And just reverse of that, 1 minus alpha is the confidence level. That means alpha equal to 0.05 means 95% confidence level. That means 1.96 Z value between minus 1.96 to 1.96. We are going to put the rejection region here. You are confident for the 95%, right? For being confident 99%, Z value should consist of this value. And to be confident about 99.99%, alpha equal to 0.001, you have to go for this cutoff limit. You have to put your cutoff limit, cutoff value, C value here in the two-tail test. In one tail test, Z value should be different. We are going to consider only one region, right? I hope you understand this graph. So second step is locate the critical region. What is the critical region? In which if the sample mean is falling, sample average is falling, we are going to reject the null hypothesis. Okay. So critical value region consists of the outcome that are very unlikely to occur. Very unlikely. Why? If you are going to put the alpha critical region in this side, this is very less probability. All the probability, higher probability here in this region. Here, if anything is going to fall, that should fall around the mean or something like that one. Here the probability is very less of falling or getting something. But if you are getting that one, that is the rarest of rare case. That means your claim is not proper, that has to be rejected. Okay, that is the critical region that defined with sample means that are almost impossible to obtain because there is very less probability, right? You can see it from this graph also. Here the probability is very less in falling these regions. So the phrase almost impossible means that rare chance of the happening, and that probability is known as the p-value. Probability of less than alpha. So if you do some example with the Minitab, etc., or the software, that will also give the p-value. If p-value is less than alpha, you are going to reject the claim. If p-value is greater than alpha, we have to accept the null hypothesis, right? Like in this case, for the 95% confidence level, in middle the total area is 95%, and this is the both tail test, two-tail test, right? Here is the mean value of the sample is falling this side or this side, we are going to reject that one. If between that we are failed to reject, or we have to accept that. Okay. So this way we are going to conduct the hypothesis testing. Now we have to calculate for the calculation purpose Z statistics. That is the sample mean and the population mean. Difference of the sample mean I showed you. Difference of the sample mean population means versus the amount of difference we expect without any treatment, right? Divided by standard deviation of that is the Z statistics. Now in the step 4, a large value of the test statistics so that the obtained mean difference is more than would be expected if there is no treatment. If it is large enough to be in the critical region. So if the Z is going any side in the critical region, if you say here, if Z value is more, here on this axis, x-axis we have the Z value. If Z value is going to be more, irrespective of the negative or positive sign, that is going toward the low probability region, right? So if Z value, if it is large enough to be obtained in the critical, if the Z value is falling in the critical region, we conclude that there is a significant difference, or we have that proof that whatever claim is made, that is not acceptable, because the probability of happening of that kind of getting that kind of the sample mean is very rare. And if you are getting that mean, that means there is something missing or a claim is not true, right? So if the mean difference is relatively small, if mean difference is relatively small, then you are going to get the low Z value. If you remember the formula we already talked about, here what is the Z value? Z value is this is the sample mean and this is the population mean. If there is a large difference between these two, what is the population mean? That is the claim made. That average speed is 25, let's say. Or someone is claiming in that our example, my average speed is, running speed is 45. That is the population mean. For the long term, he has claimed something, right? And you are measuring here. He's run in the next 3 events. If there is a large difference, you are going to get the greater value of Z. If low difference, that also depends on the standard deviation, right? So, but particularly that is on this value, sample mean and population mean, difference of these two, right? If that is big, Z value should be the bigger one. If this is small, Z value should be small. Okay. So we are talking about if the mean difference means sample mean and population mean is relatively small, then the test strategy will have a low value, right? Based upon that formula. In this case, we can conclude what we can conclude. In this case, we can conclude that evidence from the sample is not sufficient. What is the evidence we are getting out of the sample taken or the sample data? It is not sufficient. In that case, we are not going to reject the null hypothesis, right? So this is the final step to make the decision whether to accept the null hypothesis, reject the null hypothesis or fail to reject. Got it? Okay, we're going to have less time here. So errors in the test hypothesis, just because the sample mean. We are taking the sample, we are not going for the census. What we do in the census, we go for the data of the whole population, not the selected few. What is the sample? Sample is the few selected out of the whole for the data collection. So just because the sample mean is different from the original population means does not necessarily indicate that the treatment has or any kind of a measurement has caused a change, right? That may be due to the sampling error also. So already we have discussed the type 1 error. What is the type 2 error? Type 2 error occurs when the sample does not appear to have affected by treatment. That means you are going to accept the null hypothesis, but in reality, we should have rejected that one. Or other word you can say, in this case, the researcher failed to reject the null hypothesis and falsely concluded that treatment doesn't have any effect. That means there is no change. Or null hypothesis is accepted, but that should have been rejected. And what can be the causes of this one? The type 2 errors are generally the result of very small treatment effective treatment means measurement or whatever that may be, you are going to see. So this way we have the, now coming to the final table. To understand the type 1 and type 2 error, what can be the outcome of any hypothesis testing? There are only two possible outcomes. Reject the null hypothesis, HO. Are you able to see this slide? I think I'm sharing this one.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
these two can be situation. These two is your outcome. Reject the null hypothesis based upon your test, or fail to reject, that is the return the null hypothesis. These two can be your final outcome. But in actual situation, what can be happen? If null hypothesis is true or null hypothesis is false. In actual, we don't know actual. We are making the decision on base of the sample data, right? So what can be happen there? If we are going to reject the null hypothesis and in actual that is true, that is the type 1 error. If in actual that is false, that means your decision is correct. Fail to reject or retain null hypothesis. If your decision is fail to reject and there is actually null hypothesis is true, then your decision is correct. Right? Otherwise, there should be the type 2 error. Right? I hope you understand the type 1 and type 2 error with respect to the hypothesis testing. Okay. At this point, we are going to end this topic. There is something more. You can go through your book. Already I have shared a book by the C.R. Kothari, Research Methodology, if you remember. Right? So here we are going to end this topic of the hypothesis testing. If you have any questions, we are open for the discussion. Okay. For each kind of test, each research, you have to, this is the broad framework I have given. I have discussed how to perform the hypothesis testing. The major thing is that how to write the hypothesis. Generally, we take null hypothesis wherever the equal sign is coming. Whether there is the equality sign is coming at the mean value is equal to 25 or something, or greater than equal to, that should be taken as the null hypothesis. And all remaining possible outcomes should be goes to the alternative hypothesis. And then you can apply the test statistics like Z statistics and define the critical region, see whether sample mean is falling. If that is in the rejection region, we have to reject the hypothesis. If that is falling in the acceptance region, we have to fail to reject the hypothesis. That's where we are going to perform the hypothesis testing. For each case, depending upon that one, you can have the different hypotheses. In one research, there may be more than one hypothesis, not necessary. There is only one hypothesis. Right? So you are going to test all that hypothesis by applying the hypothesis testings. Okay, any question? We have left with the something 3 minutes or so. So if any question, anything you want to discuss upon this topic, the forum is open for the question and answers. You can unmute your microphone and you can ask. No questions? Okay. Yeah, Solomon Tucker.
Okay, doctor, that's an interesting subject. My question is, let me say, as the fourth step, you maybe decide the hypothesis already accepted or rejected. What will be the next sequential? I mean, we will write the reason why it's not accepted, or we reattempt the or recheck the hypothesis. What will be the next sequential? Let me say it's maybe fail or it's maybe rejected or accepted.
Yeah, once you decide about the why that is accepted, why not, that is based upon the all the data, right? You are not doing by yourself. Based upon the test statistics, Z value, you have defined the critical region. Okay, this is the region in which if sample mean is falling, I am going to accept the null hypothesis. If that is falling in the rejection region, you are going to reject that one. Okay, so the explanation for that one, how to reject and why to reject or why to accept, is already there, right? Now coming to the your question, if I understood well, or if you want to ask anything else beside that one, how we are going to accept or reject, that is based upon the test statistics, Z value. On the basis of Z value, how you are going to determine the Z value? You are going to determine the Z value on the basis of the your confidence level. That is the C value. 1 minus C will give the alpha value, right? That is the significance level. You are going to plot that significance level on that chart at the critical value, or identify the region, in which region I am going to accept the sample mean, in which region if the sample mean is going to fall, I have to reject the hypothesis. So that is all about the accepting or rejecting, right? The null hypothesis. Already I told that we are going to make the decision only about the null hypothesis. If you are going to accept the null hypothesis, that means already you have rejected the alternative hypothesis. Null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis are mutually exclusive. There is no overlapping. If one thing is covered in the null hypothesis, that should not come in the alternative hypothesis. Okay. Besides that, if you can elaborate your question more, if you want to ask anything else beside that. Solomon Teka.
Okay, doctor.
No, I want to, if you want to ask something else other than this.
It's clear already, doctor.
Okay. Any other question?